Pete Hegseth is in a lot of trouble. We all know what happened with Signalgate, and we all know that Pete Hegseth is unqualified for the job, at least many of us that are not MAGA morons. So there's new revelations with Pete Hegseth that have come out here with great journalism in the last 24 hours. I want to start with the Wall Street Journal and other outlets that have reported that Pete Hegseth brought his wife and a former Fox News producer to 2 meetings with foreign military counterparts where sensitive information was discussed. You want to talk about putting our military at risk and our sensitive, overclassified documents out there to people that do not have security clearances? Pete Hegseth did that. Next, it doesn't end there, ladies and gentlemen. The Pentagon set up a top secret briefing by the Joint Chief of Staffs on China for Elon Musk. You remember, we talked about that on the radio. And we all know at that time, Elon Musk still had extensive business interest in China. After learning about it, the White House canceled that meeting because they knew it would look really bad. Yes, but Pete Hegseth is the one that set that meeting up because he's an imbecile. And then came the purges. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Last night, the New York Times put out a report that Hegseth shared details about the Yemen strike in another Signal chat. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is a separate Signal chat. It included his wife and his brother, who obviously don't have security clearances. They had no business being on that Signal chat, but they were included by Pete Hegseth. Now, there's likely more things to happen down the road. And Pete Hegseth was asked about this yesterday at an Easter event, and I want you to listen to this pathetic dweeb and his excuse for all these revelations that have come out in the last couple days. Have a listen to this.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
Okay, so first of all, this is not old news. Second of all, these are not all disgruntled employees. In fact, some of these people off the record have actually spoken to members of the media that are still working in the Trump administration. So that's also entirely not true. And thirdly, that's a page from the Donald Trump playbook. Blame the media, call it smears, call it lies. Remember, he did the same thing with all the abuse and the cheating and the lying, and then he had to own up to it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Pete Hegseth's mother, his own mother, warned us, didn't she? She warned us without even knowing that at one point her son could be the Secretary of Defense. She called him a woman abuser. She warned all of us, ladies and gentlemen. We should have listened to her. When I say we, I'm not talking about non-MAGA idiots out there. I'm talking about the MAGA morons out there who still think Pete Hegseth should be the second person and only the second person to have our nuke codes. So the rumors are swirling and the possibilities are out there. And even though Caroline, the liar Levette, who spreads propaganda every single day, says the president still has all the confidence in the world with Pete Hegseth, you know that this has to bother him. Obviously, the woman abusing didn't bother him because he's done it himself. But this has to bother him. I mean, think about that. He's bringing his wife and a former Fox News producer who did not have security clearances to foreign military counterparts where sensitive information was discussed. There's another Signal chat. I mean, you have to be kidding me. Is this for real? And the White House canceled a meeting that Elon Musk was supposed to have in a Pentagon meeting that had to do with China, when we know that Elon Musk has extensive business deals with China, and the White House knew it was inappropriate. Clearly, Pete Hegseth didn't because he's an imbecile. I don't think he's a very smart person besides being an abuser, and the White House had to cancel the meeting. That's how bad it got, and all this stuff is now coming out. So what are your thoughts about that? There's a lot to talk about today. There's a lot to discuss. I want to ask you guys about Pete Hegseth and these new revelations. Will Donald Trump be forced to let him go? Or will his ego get in the way and he will keep him in there even though he has put our national security at risk? There's been more Signal chats. He put his brother in there. He put his wife in there. He put an old Fox News producer in there. So I want to get your thoughts on that.